It's a great day, I'm feeling good. Oh, the possibilities of what I could.
What happens when a blind man, a woman of color, and a child of immigrants get together to discuss how diversity, inclusion, and equity affect your business?
I'm moving fast. Oh, I'm optimistic.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Choose Inclusion podcast. I'm Yubi and I am the Latino white guy of the group.
I'm Nina. I am the woman of color in the group.
And I'm Mike. I'm the blind guy.
All right, welcome back everybody to Choose Inclusion. I'm Yubi. I'm here with Nina.
Hey everyone.
And Mike.
Hola.
And my friend Jesus Silva, Chef Jesus Silva from Misaki on Broadway.
Right.
So Broadway Market here in local Denver, Colorado. And tell us about your background, because I want people to understand where you came from and how you got to Misaki.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Always.
I don't know where to start, but I've been cooking for close to 31 years now.
And you're 30, so that's crazy.
I'm 42, so I'm from Monterrey, Mexico. And as you guys know, the situations in countries like Mexico is different. You need to work when you're young if you want to eat. Mm-hmm. And I started working in this place, and it was pretty young, and I've been doing this, I guess, forever now. Mm-hmm. I went to school for electronics, and I never do anything with that except for just go to school.
Yeah.
I went to school, and and I've been doing Japanese food for 16 years actually. 16 years.
And so when did you come to the U.S.?
I was 26 years old. My older brother had an accident, and I had to move here we had to come here and take care of him because he was hit by a drunk driver. Oof. And he became quadriplegic. So my whole family moved here.
Oh wow!
Like
to take care of him.
Yes, to take care of him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So that was roughly 15, 16 years ago now?
Yes.
Okay. So early 2000s.
2002.
2002. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So and then so had you started dabbling in Japanese food style at that point in time, or no?
No. So at that point, I already come cooking long time in Monterrey. But when I moved here, obviously I don't know the culture. I don't know anybody. I don't speak English. I do a little bit now. It was hard. It was a shock. But I found a job in Tamayo as a Mexican restaurant here, and that was kind of easy for me. Moving the ranks up, and then from there, I started working in this Japanese, or that was more like a Chinese restaurant fusion. It was called Mao, after Mao Zedong, in Cherry Creek, and that's where I started doing Japanese food in a Chinese restaurant.
Love it.
Yeah.
So was that the first time you tasted Japanese food too?
Yeah, that was one of my first exposures to Japanese food, like a real Japanese food. Again, like I say, I was cooking for a long time, but I was doing a lot of Mexican food, of course, little French, little Italian, nothing too specific. Like when I come here.
But you didn't go to school for food, right? So you learned since you were 10, 12.
Yes,
basically.
I went to school for electronics.
Yeah. So you can fix a blender.
I can fix your microphone.
One, two.
Yeah, it's not working. But no, so yeah, that was the first exposure I have to Japanese food, and it was not easy, but especially again because I don't speak English at all at that point still. One of the things that made me learn was when you work in a sushi bar, you're right there dealing with people every day, and you have to. So I did.
Well, and I imagine then, so you're from Mexico, your name is Jesus, but you're making sushi. So what did you experience? Those people that you were looking for, what kind of bias did you experience? Like, do people look at you and go, wait, what is this?
Well, first it's really hard work with Japanese people because they want you to be very Japanese when you're in the sushi bar. Usually, if you're gonna be in a sushi bar, you start in the kitchen. You have to be there for a really long time. I don't know. I want to say lucky that 3 guys quit at the same time there to move to Aspen in that time, and they really need somebody in the front to help. And I guess because I already have some skills with my knife, and I want to say that I was pretty good actually with my knife.
Spoiler alert: he is.
Yeah. They accept to train me, and that's how I started doing that. But I was, it was kind of weird, just because I don't understand what they're saying, and you have to figure out things when you don't speak the language, and you have to figure out how to be efficient and how to do something you don't know. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, they try to explain to you, and since I don't speak English or Japanese, it's a little complicated, but yeah, I'm still here doing sushi.
So that's fascinating to me, thinking like, okay, so it was this total language, like, so there's you don't even have a common language of English, right? So so literally, like, the entire training was almost done by, like, watch what I'm doing,
yes,
and pointing, right? And then so the language of visually observing, I mean, that's how you, like, overcame all of those barriers.
Right. But then I think that was the easy part in the beginning. The hardest part was when I started speaking English and I understand all the crazy things they say.
What happened?
Because I mean, they some people think, and this is not to generalize anything, but some people behind the sushi bar think that only Japanese can do sushi.
Right.
And I don't believe that. I mean, otherwise, why somebody else is doing Mexican food, right? When you're not Mexican, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. They believe their hands are the perfect temperature, or like they believe Japanese specifically. I mean, Japanese chefs believe that woman cannot make sushi because the temperature of their hands are different. What I think is totally not real.
I mean, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
There's no science to support that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, during the years, I've met so many different people, and a lot of them, they're amazing people, and almost everyone that I work with, they're very, very, very cool people. But sometimes it's cultural too. I mean, they have their own beliefs, and they've been passing those things for a long time, and that's why they believe that. I don't know if that's like they trying to be bad with people. It's just the way they think.
Do you think you changed their perception? So you're coming in and at first, they think that you're, coming in and trying to take over their culture or whatever and try to be like them. Do you think you changed their minds?
Totally, because now a lot of them come to eat with me or come to eat in front of me, or they bring their families and sit in front of me to eat sushi, and that's big because, like I said, usually they want another Japanese guy doing.
So that's an endorsement of your skills.
I hope.
Right? That's an endorsement of your skills.
Or they're probably thinking, like, let's go eat some Mexican food and sushi with me.
Some Mexican sushi. Yeah, that's what it is. Like,
well, what's funny is, I've heard you describe your cooking as, I'm making Mexican food like with Japanese technique.
Yeah.
Because you do, I think you instilled very Mexican flavors into your sushi. That's what makes it unique.
Yeah, I mix a lot of Mexican ingredients, or I try. Not all the time works.
Sure.
But Mexican food, I think, is really, really rich. And I don't think we cook enough Mexican food in America for people to understand what real Mexican food is.
Right.
We think Mexican food of tacos and probably, I don't know, mole. Everybody right away come to your head. Oh, Mexican food, mole, tacos, guacamole.
Well, Mike, what did you think Mexican food was?
Well, so okay, I always all right. So now, I've had a couple of barriers in my life, and one of them was economic. Okay, so I grew up very I actually thought Spam was like a fifth food group, right? Like I
It's coming back around.
Yeah, I grew up really, really poor, so I did not. I mean, fried bologna sandwiches, like we didn't have access to a lot of foods. However, I also grew up in a very rural and Caucasian part of the country in Northeast Ohio at the time, and so we did not have access. Like we did not know the amazing flavors and culture of the Spanish population, of Mexican population. Like I did not know that there wasn't even a Taco Bell in the small Caucasian town I grew up in.
Right.
Yeah. So, which is, by the way, not authentic.
great.
Right? Not authentic.
That's
So-
not Mexican.
Which is very good for you. You don't have one of those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's totally good.
Hey, I don't know about you, but that Dorito taco shop, ridiculous.
Oh my gosh! We're not being endorsed by them, by the way. So living here in Colorado for 35 years now, and being surrounded by the very rich culture of it. I actually never had mole until like this last summer of 2019.
Oh,
Never
wow.
touched mole. Yeah. So I do love like the rich flavors and all the peppers.
You know what is crazy? You have one type of mole, and it's like hundreds and hundreds.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
they're so different. They're
Yeah.
so different.
I only had one. Like I never even knew what it was.
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
So,
Like,
yeah.
we're not cooking enough Mexican food. I think pretty soon what's gonna start happening in America is the chefs gonna start specializing in regions like Oaxaca or Veracruz or Yucatan.
That's
By
interesting.
state, you're gonna see those new Mexican restaurants instead of be just a Mexican restaurant with a lot of different things from the country. It's gonna be Mexican restaurant, Oaxacan style, or
That's interesting.
Very
Yeah.
specific.
oh yeah, because every state has their own way to cook, and like
Sure.
just Oaxaca has 7 different regions that they cook totally different
Right.
from each place, and that's just Oaxaca. So
Yeah.
That's really
It's
fascinating.
a similar thing with Indian food. I
Yeah.
just came back from a month in India, doing a tour of Indians' living rooms, visiting my family. But we did get to eat a lot of food, and it's just like the whole concept that there's only one type of Indian food in the U.S. is just
right.
it makes no sense. It's like saying that Louisiana food is the same thing as like a New York City burger. Like
Right.
like
But
that's
there's
essentially
green
the
curry and yellow
equivalent.
curry. There's totally different kinds of curry.
Well, yeah, maybe in the future.
And red curry. I forgot about
Oh,
red curry.
gosh. You might be thinking about Thai food.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there goes the culture thing.
Yeah, no, it's like I don't know. I don't know what you're
You know,
saying.
Showing my upbringing.
On the future, you're gonna go to Mexico to American restaurants, and you're gonna find Louisiana style food with from all America in one single place.
Right.
And you as an American gonna understand what we're talking about. Like, I mean, it's a lot more there than.
It's just burgers, isn't it? All American food is just burgers, isn't it?
I mean, pretty much.
I
Pizza.
New York and Chicago are having this huge debate, deep dish versus New York style pizza. And it's like, really it's just bread, cheese, and
Right.
sauce. Come on,
Yeah.
guys.
And it's not even Italian, so I mean, let's start there. Well, so what's interesting about food, though, and, I think the food industry, maybe more so than a lot of industries, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but do you feel like the food industry has embraced diversity a little more than most? And why is that? Is it out of necessity?
Well, you have to. You have to because not many people is willing to work 13, 14, 16 hours a day.
Right.
Then immigrants, they do it a lot. I mean, just to give an example, this week was around, or it's gonna be around 90 hours.
Oh wow!
Wow.
And now because I need to work to make money is because it's part of our culture too. I mean, we work really crazy. I mean,
You said a week, not a month?
no week.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
90 hours for a month is like a lot.
No. Like today, my day started at 7 in the morning, sending orders, dealing with some people that call sick, and I'm dealing with people since 7 in the morning,
Wow.
and I'm gonna go back right now. I have a big event. I'm gonna make a lot of sushi coming back to my restaurant, and I'm gonna be there till 11. And at that time of the night, when I finish to do the normal things, I have to go there and look for if I need to do ordering for the next day and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people like me, we work like crazy, but it's weird. You see these washers who work in the restaurants. They have one job in the morning where they go on the 7 in the morning, leave at 3, go another work at 4, and stay there till like 1 in the morning, and they do it again next day, and they do it like a whole week, and that's kind of normal. And it's weird, like when you have a friend from any part of like Mexico, Central America, and sometimes from South America, they only have one job, and you're like, what? You only have one job? You're so lazy, man. You're only working 40 hours a week. Are you kidding me?
Wait. I thought we're hearing immigrants are so lazy, right? Like,
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah, we won't get into a political conversation.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but that's
Yeah.
the thing. I mean, out of the necessity, you have diversity in the kitchen because, again, and I don't want to generalize the whole thing. I mean, not many people from America want to take those jobs or want to have those long hours or want to be in the restaurant the whole day.
right.
I mean, as simple as that.
Right.
Well, so I'm curious too. So there's and I forget the name of, it's one of those crazy shows that, there are these pervasive shows. And one of the recent winners was a totally blind woman, I think either Austin or Dallas, Fort Worth area, totally blind. And it was one of those, and as she got brought onto the show, right, and of course she's blind, I think it was, Ramsey, what's Gordon Ramsay? Is that?
Hell's Kitchen?
Yeah, it was the guy from there who actually said, he trains his chefs actually by putting them under blindfold so they can truly taste the foods. And so I'd be curious on, and she actually ended up winning the whole contest. It was like last year, year before. It was fantastic. Yeah, totally blind woman. She won the whole contest. And I was curious on your thoughts on, obviously with I love seeing that promoted too. But from your perspective, do you think there's an advantage with truly just being able to taste and touch the food?
Well, I think it's a lot of different talents, right? Like she has definitely developed her taste buds better than anybody else because she needed it for work, and she don't have a tool that, I mean, she cannot see, right?
Right.
So she needs to use all the other tools she have, her hands and her taste buds and her hearing and everything at a higher percentage. I mean, as we maybe we separate those things, and let's say 25% is visual, 25% is taste, 25% is the way you hear things, the way you feel them is the other 25%. And for her was different. I mean, if it's an advantage, I think she was in disadvantage. But she becomes stronger out of her deficiencies, I guess. I mean, she become better. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I don't even know who is this lady, but I need to look for
it
it.
was really, of course, in the blindness space, like it made all kinds of news, right? And I really appreciated the story that, and then this famous, and I don't follow chefs, but I think it was that Gordon Ramsay guy who actually then said, he trains his chefs for a period with blindfolded, so they can focus on the tasting and the touching of the food. So it's not just pure visual, right? So I thought it was fascinating.
Well,
anyway,
it's very crazy. You see it. We're watching TV and we're watching a lot of shows of food, right?
Yeah.
And everything you see in on the shows, it has to be visual. You don't know how that thing tastes, except for what the judges say. And in the end, a judge is a preference. I mean, the judge cannot tell you like, oh, this is wrong, this flavor is wrong, because what if that's what the flavor you want?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What if that is the flavor you want or you're looking for? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like sometimes the shows are a little crazy because, I mean, yes, a judge can tell you, hey, that technique you use is wrong. I mean, because the technique's supposed to be this way or the other way or whatever. But it's hard for me to think that the flavor they can tell you like, oh, the flavor is wrong because, and you're like, you can say why. I mean, that's what I was looking for.
That's
maybe you're
fantastic.
wrong.
Maybe you're wrong. I love that. I love that opinion.
That's it. Well, and I think
I'm sorry, but that sums up exactly what this podcast is supposed to be about. Like what we're talking about. Like we think in the talent pipeline arena, we think so much that it's supposed to look like this, right? Because there's some kind of recipe for it. But yet in the world of inclusion that we all embrace and endorse, like it should be, 17% of the population are people with disabilities, but there's no company on the planet that has statistics even close to that, let alone, women of color in their leadership ranks. And like, we just don't have that. So I love you saying that. Like, it's such a preference, and that so fits what we're attempting to get through.
And there's your mic drop.
I was just he always does a mic drop, and that was it. Because
I get a little fired up.
Well, and to that point, we were talking about this a little earlier before we started recording. Those shows that you're talking about don't really represent. Well, they don't provide a visual representation for blind and visually impaired people, or women of color, or men of color, or other underrepresented groups to see themselves as a chef,
right,
or to see themselves, as a restaurant owner, because it's not really represented in those shows very well in the media, and so why would they pursue a career in that?
It's crazy because those shows too are creating a wrong expectation for the new generation of chefs.
Right.
The chefs are coming out of the school, and I think the schools are not being honest with the people they're training when they come into the industry too. And that's really wrong because, like I said, I see it every day. You get people coming out of the school, and yes, they have a lot of good skills, but they're not ready to be a chef. They're not ready sometimes not even to be a line cook. Right. sometimes not even to be a prep cook. And these people coming out of the school thinking, I'm ready. I'm going to be the next top chef or iron chef or whatever. And you never cook an egg. I mean, but in a real kitchen.
The right way. Yeah.
In a real kitchen. No, maybe you do right in the school.
Yeah.
But think about this. Now you're not going to cook 1 or 5. You're going to cook 300 in 30 minutes.
Right.
So now that's the difference, that's why I'm thinking the schools too need to be more honest with what they teaching and tell the truth. Or the shows. I mean, I'm not waking up every morning running around supermarket trying to figure out what kind of ingredients I need for today, and then coming back to my kitchen trying to. That's not how we work.
Right.
Yeah.
We organize this whole thing like a whole week is organized in Monday or whatever day you organize. I mean, those whole things are crazy.
Well, and I would argue that a lot of even like the coding schools, I mean, it's the same scenario, right? It doesn't matter necessarily what industry, but, we've got students coming out of some of these schools and they're expecting, one, to make a lot of money, and that they're just going to plug right in. But to your point, it's completely different in every company, and it's they haven't been taught that. I mean, there's just this big chunk missing.
What are the skills that are actually needed versus what are the education system preparing you for? And then that disconnect that's happening is part of the reason why there's a lack of diversity and inclusion, because even the folks who are hiring aren't able to articulate the skills that are needed in a lot of places.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess that's another thing. So a lot of these students come in and they think like the dishwasher is like, don't worry about that guy, or don't worry about the prep guy. I mean, I coming out of school and I mean, that's the people who support you to become. I mean, if you want to be a chef, that's the people you need first before anybody else.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Zeus, I've so enjoyed getting to know you, and I am so looking forward to bringing me and my family to
Anytime,
your restaurant.
man.
I really am. So
We need to do a Choose Inclusion in the field
On site.
site.
episode.
Yeah, next.
And Misaki.
Yeah, I'm going to bring, I think it would be, I'll bring Ubaldo, I'll bring, a whole bunch of the board of directors to the restaurant. So I think that'd be a lot of fun.
let's do it.
So
Anytime.
yeah, thank you so
It's a
much for
great
this
one.
opportunity.
Well, and that's a whole other podcast that we didn't get to today, but talking about how food and drink can really bring people together so that we can have, really safe but vulnerable conversations, and use that curiosity of food that we have. Because we're so willing to try so many different kinds of foods, but we're not so willing to be curious about so many different kinds of people. And so how do you do that, right?
You make a very good dinner. That way, you don't want to spoil your dinner, and you have to be civilized.
That's
and
right.
Be around people and learn about somebody else that is not yourself.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah.
Perfect ending.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jesus.
Thank
It's
you,
been
Jesus.
a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, what a pleasure.
And we're out. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
See you
Jesus, that
next
was
time.
awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Choose Inclusion podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can see closed captioning for this podcast on our YouTube channel. We'll be publishing a new episode on the first Thursday of every month. You can find us online on our website, chooseinclusion.com, and contact us on Twitter @chooseinclusion.